Hey guys, it's awesome here and welcome back to a new video. So today I'll be testing Microsoft Flight Simulator 20 on the GTX 1050 Ti paired with the Core i5-9400 and 16 gigs of RAM. So Microsoft Flight Simulator 20, I'll show you three resolutions: 1080p, 900p and 720p. And for each tested resolution, terrain and object details were set to 100 along with TAA as anti-aliasing. So for starters, the game is very CPU bound, and on large populated areas of the map, the frame rate can suffer, and there are random starters all over the place. Some say having the game installed on a SSD helps with the starters. So moving on to 1080p, I'll show you the low preset first, which was enough for 35 frames per second on average, with minimums of 29 FPS and 1% close to 20 FPS. Next, I'll just overclock the GTX 1050 Ti as I added 185 MHz to the core clock and 750 MHz to the memory clock. With this, we see a decent performance uplift as the average frame rate was very close to 40 FPS with minimums over 30 frames per second. At last, for 1080p, I'll just use the medium settings, which was not playable in my opinion, as the average frame rate was under 30 FPS with lows and minimums of 20 frames per second. For 1080p, I'll suggest using the low preset. Next, I'll switch to 900p. First, I'll show you the low preset on 900p, and here we find an average of 41 FPS with lows close to 30 FPS. Next, for medium settings on 900p, which was not enough for 30 frames per second, and we had an average of 29 FPS with lows close to 20 FPS. For 900p, I'll also suggest using the low preset as it does not look bad compared to medium and the performance is much better. At last, I'll switch over to 720p. Here I tested three presets: low, medium and high. First, for low settings, here the average frame rate was very close to 47 frames per second with lows over 30 FPS, which means the performance was consistent and we rarely dropped below 30 FPS. Next, for medium settings, here we see a huge performance drop as the average frame rate is now 35 FPS with lows and minimums being around 25 frames per second. At last, for high settings on 720p, which is just not playable as the average frame rate is 26 FPS with lows close to 20 FPS. For 720p, I'll suggest you use the low or medium settings, trying to target 30 to 40 frames per second. For textures, the game was using almost 4 gigs of VRAM on medium settings, and for the system RAM, I would suggest at least 16 gigs of RAM, as the game can use more than 4 gigs of system RAM at some times. So yeah guys, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed. Drop a like if you did. Don't forget to subscribe. And as always, suggestions and comments are welcome, and I'll see you next time.
Departure, I will contact you next when you leave my airspace. Heathrow Tower, Icon Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf, Sierra continue for north departure. Icon X-Ray Golf Sierra, you are leaving my airspace frequency change approved. Icon X-ray Golf Sierra, did you hear my last transmission? Icon X-ray Golf Sierra, continue for north departure. I will contact you next when you leave my airspace. Heathrow Tower Icon Alpha Sierra X-ray Golf Sierra, continue for north departure. Icon X-ray Golf Sierra, you are leaving my airspace frequency change approved. Icon X-ray Golf Sierra, acknowledge last transmission. Heathrow Tower. north departure. I will contact you next when you leave my airspace. Icon Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra continue for north departure.